Hello and welcome to the Digital Juice Bar, the only podcast that's mastered the ancient sacred fist of the nose hairs. I'm Hoodley,
And I'm KnightmareAlpha.
and if you understand that reference, you get +5 animu.
That's great. The animu point system is very relevant to our worldview.
Yes, it is. If you get 100 animu, you get a sexy figurine. And if you don't immediately look up the skirt of the sexy figurine, I do not trust you.
Okay.
Because that's something everyone does. If you do not do that,
I mean, that's the first thing that everybody does with a Barbie doll.
I mean, I didn't have those growing up, so I wouldn't know. I never knew anyone who played with them.
See, this is the interesting thing. My brother was always fascinated by Barbie dolls. He's not that kind of girly guy. He was just, what is a Barbie doll? Whenever he had one, whenever he got one from one of my cousins, he was like fascinated by it. So my grandma once bought him a Barbie doll, and the thing that what he looked up was, is the Barbie doll anatomically correct? And no, she isn't. Because America is weird.
Yeah. America is weird. I've never understood that. I mean, I guess, putting genitals on a children's toy, that's a little weird. That's pretty weird. Don't do that. But then you got stuff like making the Elton John biopic like rated R over here, but in like Canada it's G.
I mean, it's just a story about a man who makes music and who is also gay. That's one is not necessarily related to the other, but if you make a big deal out of it, sure.
Yeah, and it's just that's weird. That's a weird thing. It's a weird thing that the MPAA does. So did you understand the reference?
Not fully, but I'm way behind with my anime points.
Dude, it's like from 2001. It's Bobo.
Oh, we never had that here. I only knew about that.
You never had Bobo?
Nope. We had a lot of things, but Bobo was not one of these things. I have heard about it only.
Is Bobo. But you can call me Bobo. That show is really stupid.
Yes,
man,
I hear about that. It was
actually pretty funny.
Sometimes stupid things are funny.
We never get a lot of gag manga published over here.
Yeah, the problem is there is a certain kind of cultural comedy barrier that you just can't break in some cases. A lot of Japanese humor is based on puns, and they are really hard to translate to make sense.
Yeah, but even then, there is one I can think of that didn't start as a gag manga. It's called Yakitate Japan.
Okay.
It's a manga about making bread, so I love it. And it starts out pretty simple. It's just kind of like a typical like adventure comedy sort of thing. And then the final chapter, I'm not going to say spoiler alert because it's really, really dumb. It's like 27 volumes long. I want to get them all and read it. But like the final chapter ends with a guy eating toast that turns him into a giant buff MMA fighter with the face of Frederick Chopin. Because pan is the Japanese word for bread. And he fights bread aliens. And then the final chapter is someone eating bread that is so tasty they turn into Brazil, and then another one turns into Dhalsim from Street Fighter and uses his psychic powers to lift the countries of Earth so that they are above sea level, therefore avoiding, the threats of global warming.
Bread is a powerful source of energy that I can definitely recommend as a nutrient and supplementary. It is one of the core aspects of civilization.
Dude, your mic's popping.
What?
Like, is it plugged in correctly? Plugged in all the way?
Something is wrong with you. You're hearing something is weird. You sound like a robot for some reason. That's weird.
Maybe it's the connection?
No, now it's okay. I don't know what went wrong.
Okay, that was odd. But yeah, that's like the only gag manga I can think of that we actually got in its entirety over here.
Well, it happens. Bread is a powerful sustenance.
Yep. All right, so I guess we should. I can never remember. Like, do we answer? I think. Oh wait, we do the thing that we've been doing lately. So, what have you been up to lately?
Not much. I had a lot of separate things to do. Like I went to court this week, and there was a lot of things to do. No, not that kind of. No, it was very informal. You done?
Yes. Sorry, it's
Good.
just I love that series. It's got really good music.
It wasn't that glorious. It was very informal. Like even the judge was in normal clothing, so it happens.
Anything entertaining?
Not really. I had a lot of stuff to do. There was the usual YouTube stuff. Not much. Really, not much. This was a very harmless week. I remember we playing Yu-Gi-Oh. That's what I remember.
Yeah, last night.
Yeah, it was fun. We should do that more often.
Yeah, we really should. It's fun. It's a fun way to test out all my stupid ideas that would never work. Because, the only thing people want to play when I go to the card shop is just play the tournaments, and then they just play all the ridiculously meta cards that let them summon 20 monsters in a single turn, and then they end it with, like, a thing that can destroy basically anything, and I can't do anything. Because I played Counter Fairies.
Well, the only meta-relevant card I'm using is Evenly Matched.
Okay, you're popping in and out again.
This is the robot thing again. This is a connection issue.
This isn't popping.
This is just a connection issue.
You think it'll show up fine in the recording? This is weird. So. This is really weird.
This sometimes happens.
All right. But yeah, it's a lot more fun when you just play with stuff isn't very good and without any meta cards, like no Ash Blossom, no Kaijus, no evenly matched, none of that. Because it's basically like, oh, yeah, I have all of this stuff that can basically kill anything you do, and I'm just going to win because I have it. I get the idea, but then it just makes me think that I can compare Yu-Gi-Oh to sex.
That's a comparison I never heard before.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Would you like to know why? What? Where'd he go? Okay, he's gone. This, can I say... Oh, you're back.
Yeah, apparently Discord fried itself.
You think you're okay now, or...
I don't know. If more problems come up, we just restart this whole thing.
Oh boy, that's gonna be a real pain if we do it like really late into this.
Nah, we can just we can just merge data together. It's not a big deal. So let's move on.
I guess.
So yeah, but usually I compare Yu-Gi-Oh to a hot nuclear war.
I compare it to like Mousetrap, where two people are trying to get to the end the fastest.
I mean, that's kind of a point, but
yeah, I know. But then I thought to compare it to sex and why I kind of dislike playing against meta sheep, I think is the thing. Like people who just play the best cards because they're the best cards and they keep winning everything.
But what has that to do with sex?
Because they're trying to just get to the end so quickly instead of taking their time and actually trying to enjoy it, and it just ends up being incredibly unsatisfying.
Sex is not competitive sports.
It is in one manga.
We're not talking about that one.
Well, it's still there. Apparently, it only has like one chapter translated online, and it's the 100th chapter, but it's labeled as chapter 1, and it's like the final battle, but it's like the first part of the final battle of a tournament, and it's just like...
I just don't want to think about that.
Something was not right when they were translating that one chapter.
Let's not dwell on that.
It's actually really funny just for how ridiculous it is, but it's also really not great. It's weird, but it's funny. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with this. I'm probably going to cut it out.
We'll see about that.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun playing Yu-Gi-Oh! If you'd like to know, we actually... He signed up for Dueling Nexus, and we just played against each other a whole bunch. I played with Magnet Warriors. He played with Archfiends, Summon Skulls.
I wanted to make Summon Skull Beatdown relevant again. I failed.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm playing Magnet Warriors. I really have no right to say that I'm super competitive. I just kind of played it because I thought it was neat.
I'm playing a deck that was last time relevant in 2003.
I played decks that were relevant in like 2011.
That's okay. I don't know. I think at that time I played some Six Samurai stuff. Six Samurai Lockdown was very popular at the time.
Samurai were cool.
Yeah.
So I guess the only thing you've been really doing lately is just playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Against me last night.
That and way too much Frostpunk, but we already covered that.
Yeah, that's true. What are some other deck ideas you have that you might use against me?
Let's see. I could bring back my good old Gusto deck, but I fear that has not enough removal to deal with it. Also, Master Rule 4 just screwed it over massively.
I mean, we can play with Master Rule 5.
We can, but come on. I just feel bad. If I can make this relevant again, I'll just lose one of my narratives. Or I make this the best deck ever. You cannot believe how much annoying.
The new Master Rule's coming out in like 2 months.
Yeah,
Does it
we
really
can play
matter?
with that. We'll see about that. We'll see. I will never make this deck anyway competitive again. It was so fun. This was fun in my play group because everybody was playing like combat heavy decks, and the strategy of the deck is getting out Daigos Spherens that is immune against battle destruction and causes the enemy to take all battle damage.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, the worst part is this gets landed to all Gusto monsters on the field, and the smaller Gusto monsters, when they are destroyed and sent to the graveyard, summon other small Gusto monsters.
So you can just keep ramming your monsters into your opponent's big ones, and you can just win.
Yes.
Like a battle. That's insane. That's crazy.
And thankfully they have given me the best card for that. There's the latest Gusto card they released was Priscillica Descendant of Gusto, and that is a core card for my strategy because this allows me to summon a Gusto card from the graveyard, and when I summon Daigusto Spherens, I can take a Gusto card from my graveyard back into my hand. So what I do is summon Priscillica, get a level 3 monster onto the field, synchro summon, get the card out, and have basically an infinite amount of synchro summoning cards.
Oh, that is pretty useful.
Now I told you my secret.
Freeze.
Anyway.
It's not Spheres, it's Freeze.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Nobody ever said it. It's not a card that comes into the anime.
Yeah, makes sense. But you know what else they don't use in anime?
What?
Meta cards.
I don't know. Have you seen Firewall Dragon?
That's banned.
I know.
But like, if the Yu-Gi-Oh anime was anything like Yu-Gi-Oh in real life, duels would take just like they would either take one turn for like 20 minutes, or it would just be the exact same cards over and over again.
It would probably be pretty boring. Luckily, we don't need to deal with that because we have narrative.
Yeah.
Anyway, what have you been up to other than Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Well, I did actually finally watch Ichi the Killer,
Okay.
but I don't want to talk about that because it's really gross.
Okay.
Uh,
I mean,
the
I
main
don't
reason
tell I don't tell people about my Cronenberg experience, so
yeah, but like Ichi the Killer is like super messed up. I think it's actually banned in your country.
could be. I have never looked. I could.
It's super
I will look
nasty.
after that and let you add a note to this so that people know if it's bad or not.
I'm too lazy to do that. But outside of Ichi the Killer, I actually started watching Blood Blockade Battlefront because I just decided to pay for a subscription to Crunchyroll. Not spawned. Not sponsored.
We will never be sponsored by Crunchyroll, I think.
It might be. One day. If I make enough videos on anime that's terrible.
It's
You know,
that
maybe.
is that the reason why you asked Daniel what he thinks about the thing?
Who?
Daniel, you know,
Oh.
the guy formerly
Yeah, I
known
know.
as Shintai Reviews.
Yeah, I don't know. What did I ask him about?
You asked him if he had seen the show.
What show?
Well, the show you were watching right about now.
Blood Blockade Battlefront?
Yes, you asked him
Oh.
about this on Twitter.
Yeah, but Blood Blockade Battlefront's freaking awesome.
I heard a lot of good things about it. I just hadn't had the time to go through it.
So Blood Blockade Battlefront is the manga series by Naito Yasuhiro, who also made Trigun, that really, really weird sci-fi western thingy,
I
which
know
was
what
really
Trigun
good.
is. I actually know how old Vash is.
Yeah, he's like 350, right?
It's more like 135.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of a different character.
It's okay.
But I really like Trigun. Actually, how old is Vash? Vash, the Stampede.
Ah yes, trivia time. Here at the digital juice bar.
Oh, it just says over 150 years of age.
Yeah, somewhere along the way. I think the anime is a little bit more precise on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's never spoken out, but you can make a timeline.
All right.
Anyway.
So I really like Naito's art style. He's very like over the top in a way, because a lot of his like character names, just the names of things in general, are really ridiculous, but they're kind of awesome in that way. For example, Gungrave, which is a game I actually bought recently just because Naito did the art style. The main character in that is kind of like a zombie guy with two hand cannons and a coffin on his back, which can transform into different guns, and his name is Beyond the Grave. Like, that's just cool in a really stupid way.
I mean, it's not
like it's trying so hard to be cool that it just kind of becomes
he's kind of referencing a spaghetti western.
I mean, wouldn't it have to be made in Italy?
Yeah.
All right, but in Bloodblock, also the sequel to Gungrave has a ghost guitarist who fights people with electricity, and his name is Rocket Billy Red Cadillac.
Okay, that's a bit more out there.
I mean, that's an awesomely stupid name. and I love it. I can't help but think that's so dumb, but I love it for that. And Blood Blockade Battlefront is the series. I think he's still working on it. It's like Blood Blockade Battlefront and Beyond or something like that. It's called Kekai Sensen in Japanese. And it's really awesome. The main character, I think he might be German, and his name is Klaus von Reinhardt. He's this like super big, beefy guy with sharp teeth. You know, he's cool red hair and glasses, but he's like super gentlemanly. And then when he actually gets into battle, he's just like, I'm gonna try and like pronounce some of his attacks. Klaus von Reinhardt. Like some of his attacks are just crazy. So the plot is that there's this guy named Leonardo Watch who gains the all seeing eyes of God, which are like the super crazy eye powers he has. The problem is, I think his parents died. I can't really remember. And his sister is disabled and blind when he got the eyes. And so he goes to Hell Salem's Lot, which is New York, but with demons and monsters and stuff now. And so he joins up with what?
So just New York.
It's nicer than New York. There seem to be a lot more people who don't want to murder you. But anyway, so he joins up with the peacekeeping group Libra, and he just kind of does stuff with them, keep the peace and stuff like that. And Klaus von Reinhardt is the leader, and he has some really crazy attacks tied to his brain grid blood battle style, or Buren Gurido, Buren Gurido Ryu Keto Jutsu. And it has some really crazy attack names. This is what I mean by when I say he's just super over the top. There's Pattern 02. This is German, I think, so tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Schweisser. I think that's how you say it.
I don't know.
It's like SCHROTT.
Schrott.
Yeah, that. Pattern 11, Werbelstrom. Which just looks ridiculously spelled out in Japanese because, you know, they have a lot of words in the game. And it's Juichi Shiki. Weruburu Tsurumuru. There's like 20 U's in it. It's hilarious. Finger Greed. That was just used in the one shot, and it's in English, weirdly enough. Then there's like Stetchened Blitz Attack.
Oh God.
What?
I just, whenever this happens, I usually get a little bit.
You get pissed off because I'm not speaking proper German.
No, it's not. It's not you. It's just like, come on, Japanese. Can you just let my culture alone, please?
Well, how about this one? Kreuz wird Nichterlands.
Oh God.
I mean, it says Cross Annihilator Lance.
I mean, yes,
that sounds awesome.
What it means, but
is that not what it means in German?
Yes, mostly.
Anyway, that's just the things he can do. It's pretty awesome because he just like punches a giant cross of blood into a monster. It's kind of like you could say it's edgy because it's like everyone fights using blood, but then it's like it's so, I don't want to say tongue-in-cheek, but it's actually very lighthearted, and it's designed in a way that doesn't make it feel edgy, like it's trying super hard to be dark and gritty.
We don't want to end up in Tokyo Ghoul territory.
Yeah, and something I love about Klaus is that one of the episodes is just about him playing a game of chess that is so utterly, absurdly complicated that it actually hurts people to play. And he
so
played it for
somebody
like
made
99 hours.
So somebody made the 4th edition of Dungeons and Dragons into a chess game. I always wondered.
No, it's like insane. There's like it ended up with like 20 different smaller tables with a bunch of different chess pieces. They were like leveling up and promoting pieces, and it was just like he had to play it for 99 hours without losing, which just is an absurd idea. And I love that as a character. He's not brute strength. He's not just a guy who punches things. He's sophisticated and gentlemanly, and he's smart. And I like that. And I just like the style of the show. I think it's got really neat action, and it's really well animated, actually. Mainly just during the fight sequences, which just look cool. Like, it's insane what they can do. It's insane how it looks. It's all like bend. It's almost Studio Trigger-esque in a way. I don't know if they animated it, but it's pretty close to the kind of frantic action in shows like Kill la Kill and stuff like that. So it's really cool. I like the characters. I think it has a really neat style that's very specific to Naito. So,
Cool.
yeah, if you're wanting a cool action series, go look up Kekai Sensen.
Nah, I have to watch so many isekai anime. I don't have actually time for that.
Don't watch Isekai, dude. It's not worth it. You know it's not worth it.
No, that's the point of it. I'm going to watch a lot of them and then rank them. So basically the idea is to make reviews of them and then rank them accordingly to their internal logic. So I start somewhere and then that's the best one for that month, and then the next one, and we see how they rank up against each other, because that's the most fairest way I can rank things.
All right, whatever. Well, that's what I've been doing mostly. So yeah, and now
Cool.
we really should move on, just because we got to get to those topics. So we got to cover the one question we got. We got this one question from Dudge on the 5th episode. Sorry, it's taken us a while to answer, Dudge. But thank you for the question, and here it is. What is your opinion on console exclusives going third party and ending up on other platforms? Positives and negatives. So I think this is like, in the case of like Horizon Zero Dawn going to PC and stuff, like it's probably a decent example.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. Like, I don't mind
actually, that's a good
exclusives themselves, but we're not getting into that. But if a game's been out for a while and it's just like, hey, the sales of this thing are slowing down, it won't be a bad thing to release it on other systems, so other people can play it. Because it's like Horizon Zero Dawn's a really good game, and it's been like 2-3 years since it came out, so it's like, sure, put it on PC, whatever, it's fine. I don't mind it.
So the positives are more people get to play it. The negatives are there are none.
What do you think of this situation when stuff like this happens?
I think it's the same. It's a good thing. I think more games should be available on more platforms.
So what if, like, what do you think it would be like if Mario Odyssey was suddenly released on the PS4?
I would probably think like that's a good idea. That's cool.
I mean, it'll never happen because Nintendo.
Probably not. No, but
could you imagine all of the Talk Switch Crusaders just collectively like losing their minds?
Yes,
for being complete hypocrites.
It would really be kind of funny. I would like to see that.
I would love to see that. Like, even if it was just like some like random, maybe not random, but like if they made a new Kid Icarus game, but it was on the PS4 too, or a new F-Zero,
ready and just like, go on my computer and just watch.
That would just be hilarious. I would love to see that. But because, I would like to play consoles, or not consoles, games that are only on a single console. Yeah. I can't do it. And I don't really mind that because I got games to play, whatever. I especially have a lot of old PS2 games that I still got to play. So I don't mind it. And I think timed exclusives like the Rise of the Tomb Raider is a really stupid thing to do because it's like, we're getting it anyway. What's the point in that? What's the point in doing that?
The only thing that I see is a problem with these kind of titles could be the preservation of them. Like, if you really do a timed exclusive on a console that doesn't sell so well, you might end up with a problem that if you want to preserve this title, you will have to keep up with a very small demand, with a very small amount of hardware that you can use it for later repairs. So that could end up be a bit of a problem, especially if there is no functioning or very hard functioning emulator or something like that. So,
like the Saturn.
With the Saturn, this is really a problem because it's really hard because there are less Saturns every year around. So yes, for the Saturn, this would have been a problem. And
give us support of Panzer Dragoon Saga. It's great.
That would be really great. But again, that's
like
really
$500.
That's really one of the things that exclusives can be a problem. So I think releasing them on other platforms can be very helpful. It also can cultivate a new audience, what is also nice.
And like if it's been a while, like 3-4 years since the game originally came out, sales of the title on the original platform probably aren't that much, especially if they're old games. I don't really see any issue with that. Like what if Nintendo released like a Super Nintendo collection for Steam or just like PC in general, as well as Xbox and PS4?
That would be a nice thing to do. I mean,
yeah, especially since their online store and their online service kind of sucks with that.
Yeah, that's true, but that's kind of a thing of their development department. But yeah, that would be a nice idea. And also, think about it. It benefited many companies, like especially Sega benefited from that quite a bit. Like the moment they got the Yakuza onto PC, changed quite a lot. Like they got a whole big new audience from that.
And now all 7 Yakuza games, at least the main ones, are on PS4, and yay! And also Judgment is there, and it's great. And so Fist of the North Star, Lost Paradise, which is great because you can pick up people's screens and then bludgeon other people to death with them, and then you can go make cocktails.
Great.
That game is so dumb.
I know.
I love it. I love it so much.
We all do.
But yeah. I don't really think it's a bad thing when previous games that are previously console exclusives end up on other systems. In certain circumstances, if it's a timed exclusive, that's really kind of cruddy. But like if it's an old game that was only ever released on just like older systems or something like that, I wouldn't really mind it. If they released like old PS1 games on like the Switch, I wouldn't mind just because... yeah, sure. Give more people an opportunity to play them. I don't mind it. It's not a bad idea. I don't mind console exclusives in general, but we're not talking about that. Really, we aren't. We won't. Just trust me. We're not going to talk about console exclusives in general.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of negatives, I guess it would be kind of hard for programmers to have to port all those games to other systems because porting a game in general is not just as simple as taking the game files and then putting them on the format disk for that system. A lot goes into it. No,
that's not the case. But in general, if you have access to the source code and the development kits, it's definitely way easier to do than if you have to basically reverse engineer it. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's not an easy process, and those people who port are good people. They often have to work, sadly, under very harsh timetables, and it sometimes leads to problems and errors, but they can be fixed.
Did you know there was like a 2-person team who ported the original Wolfenstein 3D to the Game Boy?
Yes.
And the Game Boy Advance?
Yeah, I remember that.
Apparently it's not a very good port, but like 2 people... props to them.
You have to understand that these games back in the day were way smaller. In general, development teams were not that big. So I wouldn't necessarily call it an overly impressive work. But it's a good work considering what you had to do with that.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work.
I will say, though, one thing that I kind of absolutely hate and just really turned me off to the series and like made me think lesser of a studio that I actually really like was the case where Square re-released Dragon Quest XI on the Switch with all of these improvements. I know it wasn't exclusive to the PS4, but I had the PS4 version because that's the one that I bought with my Christmas money because I really wanted to try playing Dragon Quest. I heard this one was really good, so I went out with my Christmas money and I bought a copy. I haven't played it in months simply because I'm mad at Square. Because like the music is terrible. And I have no idea why they did MIDI, probably to sell like CD soundtracks, but then they're like, hey, we're re-releasing it on the Switch with like all of these really cool features. Like you can play it as a 2D top-down RPG. It has an actual orchestral soundtrack. It's got all these quality of life improvements that we're not adding to the other versions of the game, making the version I bought inherently the worst one because I can't mod it like the PC version, and I don't have all the features of the Switch version, and I'm not going to go out of my way to return a game that I bought Christmas like 2 years ago or whatever year that game came out, just for a version on a console I don't like as much. That kind of thing I hate. Releasing a better version on another system than you originally released it on, that's pretty scummy. And now I really don't want to play Dragon Quest because I'm mad at Square for doing that. But that's just a personal thing. So
I would assume.
You ever have an experience like that where you bought a game and then they released it on another system and you're just like, okay, well, screw me then?
Not really. I don't have that problem yet. It's usually happening to games that are not really interested or where the improvements are so slight that I don't really have to care.
Oh, another example that I actually do think is kind of good, but they kind of screwed it up, was the PC version of Octopath Traveler. That should not be $60. It was released like a year after the Switch version. I think it's $60.
Yep, it is. But it goes on sale from time to time.
Yeah, because it's a good game. It's not amazing. I'm probably going to make a video on it at some point. It is still $60, but like it should not be $60 because this came out like a year after the original game. And I remember because when I got it, it was the day of the anime convention that happens where I live. And that was in like 2018. And this was like a year after. So it's a port of a Switch game that was released a year after the original game, which is good. More people can play it, but it really should have been like $40, probably around $30. But like, it's a good game. I recommend it, but $60, just no. I really think it should have been lower. So they did kind of mess that one up.
I think it needs a slightly higher random encounter rate.
Did you try not equipping that one skill, Cyrus?
Yep. Even without it, it needs a slight bit higher.
You know what it does really need, though?
What?
More time to actually use those like secret jobs you get. I don't know if they carry over to like a New Game Plus because I still haven't gotten them, because you have to be such a high level that the end bosses for like every character's story is not really a problem. So it's like you get these super overpowered skills that you barely get to use. I hope they carry over, but like, yeah, console exclusives eventually going third party, ending up on other systems. Like, I don't mind that. If they're like older games that they're probably not going to profit from anymore, it can give them a new resurgence of sales and fans, and just like, hey, this game about beating people over the head with bikes until money falls out of them is pretty awesome. I'm going to look up these other games. Oh, wow, they're awesome. I'm going to get those games. These games are awesome. Thank you for porting this game to the system that I have access to. So thank you for that. Play Yakuza.
Okay.
You get to beat people over the head with benches. It's fun. And also, if you play Judgment, you can use the Drunken Fist, and I love using that technique. Because it's like an instant super. You get into a fight, you press triangle, you knock a guy out. It's really cool. I like it. Those games are great. Give us those ones where they're in ancient Japan. That was maybe not ancient, but like Edo or something like that. Give us those. I want those. But yeah, negatives. Sometimes port jobs and stuff like that can kind of be tricky for developers, or sometimes they just kind of screw things up, or they just do things that are a little unsavory, I guess, when it comes to re-releasing stuff. What about you? Positives and negatives, because it's just me that's been answering this question so far.
Well, I agree. It's positive more people get to play it, and the negatives are there are none.
Except
I really
porting
don't.
issues, maybe.
Yeah, but that's really that every port has, so it's not really different from multi-platform titles in the first place.
All right. So that's the one question we got out of the way. Thank you, Dudge, again. And now we're going to talk about... we're going to do something a little bit different this time. We are going to talk about the 3 new manga series that released in Shonen Jump recently. And if you don't know what happens with it, basically Shonen Jump is a weekly manga magazine, and for the past couple years, they've been doing simultaneous publishing. Like the day they release in Japan, we get them over here on Viz's website. And recently, maybe not recently, but like sometime last year, I think, they actually made all the new chapters free to read. So if you want, you can go over to viz.com and read all the new chapters. You do have permanent access to the first 3 and most recent 3 chapters of a series. So that's pretty cool. And so we're going to go over them. They make a couple new series and end another series like every season, maybe.
It's mostly set on what is popular, what's not, where they see potential, where not.
I'm not talking about like how they decide what series to pick up and end. I mean like just in terms of the cycle of rotation when they do it, like seasons. I feel like
somewhere around that, but it's also dependent on how fast they can get a replacement.
I mean, I was just talking about like the serialization meetings, but whatever. Go read Bakuman if you want to know more about that. But anyway, we're going to talk about the 3 most recent series to premiere in Weekly Shonen Jump, those being Undead, Unluck, Mashle, and Guardian of the Witch. And the first one we're going to talk about is Undead, Unluck by... Who made this? I have them pulled up just so I know... I have proper... Okay, first one we're going to talk about is Undead, Unluck by Yoshifumi Tozuka. Yoshifumi Tozuka. So yeah, we're going to talk about that one.
Okay.
Content warning. This starts out with someone trying to kill themselves.
There's some light reference to suicide, so be warned if you have a problem with that.
Yeah, but it ends in like a couple pages.
I mean, it's somewhat of an underlying thing, but it's not really in the sense of it's kind of more. I think it's more plot relevant that we talk about what's going on here, so that we can give some context to this. So
yeah, okay. So the premise is that there's this girl. I need to look her name up because I forgot it.
I think it's Fuko.
Fuko, right? Sure. So there's this girl named Fuko who has a weird kind of ability curse sort of thing where whoever touches her will be cursed with unluck, as she calls it, and basically something really terrible will happen to them. And so she tries to kill herself because she, that makes it pretty hard to go through life. She hugged her parents goodbye before they got on a plane, and then they died, and then bad things kept happening, and she figured out, oh, she must be cursed. So I'd imagine that makes things really hard to do in general. So
if you know the rules, you can circumvent many of these problems. Modern society is not so reliant on human interaction anymore.
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
It's still not fun. I think it's like tragic whenever somebody accidentally touches you and you're like, no,
Yeah, but then they explain rules to this, and I'm just like, that doesn't sound too terrible.
I mean, she's a teenager. She probably would go a little bit overboard with the idea. She says she's 18 years old at the end of chapter 3, so.
Oh.
But still,
that means they can have fan service and it's not creepy. So she's like covered from head to toe. She's wearing a hat and gloves and stuff like that, and she's just like covered head to toe. And then one day, when she's about to kill herself, because curse thing, she runs into this guy who can instantly regenerate. He is the undead of this story, and he does not have a name, so she just calls him Andy because of a stupid pun. And he's just like, hey, I want to die because I've been around for a really long time, and even though I seem like I'm totally fine with that, I really just want to die, so I'm going to make sure... So I'm going to do everything I can to figure out how your power works so I can get like the biggest effect of it out of everything, and so I can finally die. And that's the premise.
That's technically the premise.
Yeah, it is.
It should be noted that I have some problems with Andy's approach.
Yeah, because the thing is, they do... I should mention, like, right off the bat, he's kind of like a super zombie. Because he can regenerate his body parts in a way that
he's like a 6.5 foot tall, often naked, muscular dude.
Something I actually really love is that whenever he's naked, which is a lot, because this is one of those things where his clothes do disintegrate, but something I like is how just not subtle they are at censoring. It's just a block of screen tone.
The good part about this is that the good part about this is that nobody actually draws attention to it. Like the few times it's mentioned, it's like, oh no, there's a naked man running around. But most of the time, it's not actually acknowledged, other than and he is naked again. Nobody says anything. You see it, but it's not acknowledged.
Kind of like reverse fan service.
I mean, let's be honest. If you regularly see a naked man around you, it doesn't bother you, I assume. Like, it would never really be a thing, like if there's a necessity. So I don't mind that, but it's just weird a bit, but it's okay. That's not the biggest problem I have with Andy.
Okay, so they do set up that... I'm just going to say this right now, because it's like, you can just go read the first 3 chapters. It won't take very long. So, he is, let's just say, very aggressive, because the very first way he tries to get some of her unluck is by groping her, which...
To put it differently, he's rather...
And then a crate of bananas falls on him, and he's totally fine.
Yeah, it's like weird.
Like, it's funny.
To a degree, but I think it's kind of going into dubious levels of consent, and I'm not okay with that. But
I think that's just like, I don't like how he does that, but like I think it's just part of his character. He's just a complete brute, and he just wants to die really badly, and he's just like, I don't care what you think. I'm gonna do whatever I want, and if it ends with me dying, then that's awesome.
just doesn't set a good example. That's really what
I
frustrates
don't think
me.
anyone's looking to this guy or Shonen Jump. Okay, maybe Shonen Jump in general, but like, I don't think anyone's gonna look at this guy and think he's a good role model. Like, he's clearly meant
But it's just it's
to not be a
set
good
up to be a
person.
problem. The problem is I know how this usually resolves in shonen manga, and it will be just a consistent issue throughout. And they're never going to address it because it's supposed to be a running joke that he just constantly just goes against that, and that's like not good because I think at one point he just needs to stop with that. And I know that a lot of authors really don't do that. That they just keep going with that. I mean, how many lame fairy tale jokes can we make?
Quite a lot.
And that's kind of a problem. It's the fact that the running jokes are usually just there to be running jokes, and I think it's not good. I can live with the fact that Andy consistently after a time says that he wants to make her fall in love with him so that he can get the greatest amount of unluck.
Yeah. Okay. So this is how they set up
better.
the girl's powers. Shouldn't we talk about that first, like just to clear things up?
I mean, it's
like,
about
we're all on the same page.
Yeah, it seems like that her powers affect people that she has a personal relationship with better. Like, there's this organization that hunts these people down who have this kind of ability that basically breaks reality. They can basically break a rule of reality. That's how these powers basically work. And to escape this organization that hunts them down,
they're just gonna kill one of the people there so they can both join them, and then
yeah, that's also a thing, but that's later, I think. But to explain how Fuku's powers work the best is like that. Then she tries to escape from these guys. She basically gives Andy a kiss, and this causes a meteorite to fall down on the building, and they escape.
So I guess like her powers are, what's the word? Correlative? Is that the word?
Correlative to intimacy.
Affection and time exposed to her. So if she really likes someone and she makes contact with them for any length of time, really, something terrible is going to happen, which is why her parents died in a plane crash because she hugged them and she really loved them. So it's like, yeah, they're dead.
It's actually
the
kind of
weird thing about that is that a lot of other people probably died.
Yeah, that's also true, but that's actually kind of an issue. I'm not necessarily sure what the author wants to tell me with that, because there's always this kind of then these kind of horrible things happen. A lot of people often blame themselves for them, even if they are not actually responsible for them. I think this is kind of an extrapolation here, like what if that is really the case, and how can you basically learn to live with that or do the most of it? Because I kind of think there is an opportunity, and I think it's basically like setting up for an actual kind of romance between Fuko and Andy, because they're kind of made for each other in that kind of sense.
I mean, someone who can't die, someone who keeps making people die. It makes sense. I think it's a pretty neat premise. All things considered.
Okay. I say like if they drop this running joke, I think I would pick this up. I think it's definitely something good. I think the art style is light. It's cartoonish. It has some good options. The designs are pretty good. The powers are rather creative, and I
like Fuko's hairstyle.
It's interesting.
I'm just a sucker for short hair, so I dig it. I really like the art style too. It feels very. I want to say it's like a halfway point between like My Hero Academia and. It kind of reminds me of the Yozakura family for some reason. I don't know why, but like that's just the kind of vibe I get. But like it's very bright, it's very cartoony, so it really does fit with this frantic kind of thing. Where this guy is he's a rude kind of. He's not a good person, but like he's not a bad person.
He's a jerk with a heart of gold, basically.
He's very selfish, I guess, but he at least acknowledges that it would be a good idea to not be a complete jerk to her. So I like that about him.
he has some interesting qualities. This organization says that they have like 10 members that will not be hunted down, and the idea is like that they basically have to kill some to get into these positions to be safe. And the interesting thing is that Andy consistently wants to give himself up for her so that she's kind of safe. So it's kind of a nice touch. It's selfish in nature, but it's a nice touch.
Yeah, I really like that in Andy. You know, he is kind of a selfish douche, but at the same time, it's not like he's a bad person. He does eventually figure out a way to make his goals not so creepy, because I really love, like, at the end of the first chapter, after she kisses him on the cheek and then a meteor comes down, which sounds really hilarious out of context. But, like, the very next thing, she's just like, oh, it's probably because, you know, affection and stuff like that. And then, she doesn't actually say it then, but he just figures, oh, romantic or like extreme physical contact like that, yeah, that'll make things really, really bad for him. So he's just like, all right, now we gotta bang. And she just runs away. And then he's like, okay, maybe that's not the best idea.
I think
then he's like, okay, I'm gonna make you want to do that with me. And then
that's kind of a change.
It's not a bad thing.
That's kind of a change, and that's kind of what I like. That I'm sure that the show kind of wants to acknowledge this. So I think this is a good point. I think this has potential. This can go places, I would say.
Yeah, it really does. The problem is that it is a relatively original idea. I want to say that I have heard of this kind of thing somewhere in some shape or form. But I feel like for a shonen, it's basically an action romantic comedy sort of thing. And in that sense, I feel like it's not going to have very long because it is a relatively original idea.
We'll see.
And it's just like a lot of original ideas kind of don't go anywhere in Shonen Jump because of the way they run new series.
I mean, we all know that. I mean, the tagline for Shonen Jump is "where original stories go to die." So,
sometimes you get lucky, but like most of the time, especially in recent years, it is really hard to.
It's really
actually get a foundation to make sure your series can run for a decent length of time, which is what Black Clover did. It just made something super generic, and then once it actually amassed a fan base, he could just do whatever he wanted, because it's like, hey, I get lots of votes every single week, so I'm safe. I can do whatever I want. I don't know if that's true.
I'm still not sure how they did that. I'm still not
made
sure
Naruto, but changed the word ninja to wizard.
Okay, yeah, that explains everything.
Really I don't need
much. I don't need an explanation. That's okay. They just made Naruto a wizard. That's okay.
Which is the same thing.
Technically, yes.
In the
just
context
apparently
of
with
Naruto,
less bright colors.
Huh. The ironic thing is that they are actually dressed more appropriately for ninjas than in Naruto. So that's weird, but we're not talking about Black Clover. We're talking about Undead, Unluck, and honestly, I think this is a pretty neat idea. I like how Andy is basically just like, hey, if I bite my finger off, I can shoot it at you because of the way my powers work. He's been around for a long time. He understands how his abilities work. He's very creative about how he can utilize his powers in interesting ways. Like, he can cut his legs off and then shoot up super high. He can bite his finger and then shoot the tip of his finger at a guy like a bullet. He can just fight barehanded if he needs to because of a weird piece of glass in his skull, which doesn't actually make any sense, but it's neat.
Also, apparently the sword that he carries around is unbreakable, or at least it's supposed to be unbreakable. At least that's what's the kanji on the sword hilt. So
that might just be like for style or decoration or something.
I think it's also potentially for convenience.
Yeah. Because
It's
you know,
okay.
if you have an indestructible main character, well, he's not indestructible. He just regenerates. So I guess it makes a lot of sense that he would have a weapon that is incredibly durable. So sure, why not?
I mean, they make sure that the sword is only there as a prop. It's not supposed to be the core aspect of his powers, so it's totally fine that it's here.
Yep.
But
Also,
yeah, I think
wait, isn't it just the sword that gets stabbed into him? No, wait,
What do you
that's
mean?
something different.
That's something different.
So yeah, that's the first chapter sets up, and also the second and third chapter. I just have it here on the screen, just because.
I think it will go places.
Hopefully, I hope it lasts for a decent amount of time. It's definitely better than a Gravity Boys, which was in the last round of new series. That is not very good. Like, I'm just gonna say it right now. In terms of comedy manga or manga in general, I did not like a Gravity Boys. Did you read it?
No, I didn't.
It's really not that interesting. It's like four guys, one of which looks like a girl, end up on an uninhabited planet, and they're like the last four humans that they know of. And that's the setup. And the first one is like this super omnipotent godlike figure gives them an item that lets any of them turn into a woman. So they figure.
Okay.
So the whole chapter is just them arguing about who would make the best woman.
Oh god.
And it's really not funny. And then the whole series, up until every chapter I've read, is just the omnipotent god figure giving them a new stupid item, like a maid, and then they just end up arguing for the whole chapter about stuff that doesn't really contribute to anything. And then it ends. It's really not funny, and I don't understand why it got picked up. Zipman isn't bad. I'm going to say that right. I'm just going over the newer series, just, to spread the word. Chainsaw Man's still pretty good. I really don't want to read the new one written by Kishimoto Masashi, just because I don't like him. I'm glad to see Mitama Security Spirit Busters still going. That's actually a pretty decent little series. But like Zipman's not bad. I like it. That's kind of all the new series that they have. The rest are just like older ones that kind of ended. I'm really sad about some of these that have ended, like Double Taisei, the one about shogi. There was actually like two others about shogi. It was like one was Mononofu and another one was Momiji something. They both ended pretty early. I'm really disappointed in that because I really liked Mononofu, but it was years ago. And they still haven't published all of the chapters because I guess they really don't understand that they could probably still make some money on, selling these volumes of series that have already ended. I don't know.
Maybe they think like that the popularity wasn't high enough and they're like, but
if they can translate them in the same day, I don't think it would be that much to have like an express label just for like online manga of ones that have already concluded. Like,
I don't know. It's like they have to make these decisions. I can help them.
Yeah, I guess. And then there are some that only lasted like 14 chapters, 18 chapters, 19. A lot of them end pretty early. And I hope that's not what happens to Undead Unluck, because it's actually a neat idea. And I do think that I think the main characters have nice chemistry together. They're basically just like Fuko. I don't really think Fuko has a lot of personality. She's just someone who's, I guess she's like the straight man in the situation.
She is very unfortunate and has to deal with it. And yeah, that makes her the straight man, but she has a lot of agency.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Terrible luck. She spreads terrible luck.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then Andy is just kind of, I don't want to say he's an anti-hero, but he's not really what you expect out of a Shonen Jump protagonist.
It's okay. I think I've seen something like that before, but yeah. But yeah, I really think that the only thing that they really need to do is to help Fuku get more confident and actually take center stage a bit more, because if she learns how to use her abilities correctly, she can be incredibly dangerous and incredibly capable, and I think she should take advantage of that.
I mean, especially in combination with Andy, because again, the first chapter had her kiss him on the cheek and a meteor fell on him. How does that even work? It's a hilarious kind of power.
But that's kind of how you want to
make things so absurd.
No, that's kind of how I want to go out. Kissing a girl, and then we're just asteroid.
Worth it.
But yeah. So yeah, I think we can give a recommendation on that one.
Yeah.
Good, man.
I kind of want to talk about the art style a little bit more, just because I am an art person.
Well,
I'm not a very good artist. I'm working on it.
I think it would be interesting when they talk about that, then we got through the other ones, to put a little bit of comparison to each other, because I think all of the three have very different art styles to each other.
Yeah. All right, so Undead Unluck. It's pretty decent so far. Go check it out. All of the chapters are currently available for free. We waited until all three of them had the first 3 chapters out. The day we're recording this, they actually have the 4th chapter for the most recent one, because scheduling's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a pretty decent one. Go check it out. And the next one we're going to talk about is Mashle. I'm going to say this right now. This is my favorite one.
Really? This is your favorite?
Yeah, out of all 3 of these, this is the one that I absolutely want to read more of. Here's the premise. Imagine Saitama went to Hogwarts. Boom. That's it. That's the whole that's the setup. It's the setup of Mashle.
I was not impressed.
Really? I thought it was really. I thought it was pretty funny.
I found it a little bit too bland. Like, jokes kept repeating, and it's one of these weird shock moment kind of things, and it's like that wears thin on me very quickly. Like, it's not as excessive or expressive enough compared to One Punch Man to make me like, oh yeah, that's
okay.
funny.
Wait. When you're talking about that, do you mean the original version or the Murata Yusuke version?
I haven't read the manga, but it's kind of not. It's not insane.
Because if you're comparing it to Murata, then you have to stop right there, because Murata is like one of the best mangaka in the business right now. It's really unfair to compare literally anything to what he does.
No. It's not the artist's quality. It's the fact that I think the story isn't just insane enough to go to these shock moments. And I'm like,
okay, I should probably explain the actual premise first.
Yeah.
All right. So, in a world that is just all about magic, the main character has no magic. Which, yeah, that's pretty standard. But the thing is, his whole life, he basically just keeps exercising to the point where he is so ridiculously strong, he can really do whatever he wants. And he's just like, he's kind of laid back. He's kind of apathetic. He loves cream puffs. The main character, Undead, that's basically his thing. He is super strong without magic in a world full of magic. And due to various circumstances, he has to attend a magic academy, and yeah, it's Saitama, but if he was a teenager and going to Hogwarts. And that's the premise. And I honestly think it's pretty funny, just because I feel like there are a lot of like really good jokes in there where it's just like, you see a lot of it happen in other manga. It's just like, why do you need to do that? And it's just, I feel like MASH is like the ultra straight man in this situation, because he's just so practical.
I think he's a little bit too straight for his own good, but it's fine. It's a comedy. It's very subjective when it comes to humor.
I personally think it works pretty well because everyone is just like yelling at him and doing a bunch of crazy magic stuff, and he's just like, "Why do you need to do that? Why can't you just do it yourself? Like, what's your problem?" Like in the second chapter when he's taking the exam, the wizard person who's like the proctor of the exam just like makes desks appear out of the ground, and Mash is just like, why did you need to do that? Why didn't you set it up before we got here? What's the point in doing that? And I just love how deadpan he is about it. Because he doesn't have magic. He just doesn't see the point in using it for something so simple. And I just love his simplistic nature. So maybe that's just why I think it's funny. And then in the first chapter, this guy invades his house and he charges up this super powerful magic attack. And then the very next panel is a very crudely drawn image of him just slapping it to the ground. And then they do it again on the next page, and the guy just looks even more disheartened. And it's just like, I don't know why, but I love that. Because he just really doesn't care. And I thought that was just hilarious.
Again, if you like it, it's okay. I don't see this going very far. Maybe it survives.
I feel like it won't, just because I've seen a lot of series just not really do very well. And I feel like this is one of those that, it feels like something that will have its fans. It does feel very one-inspired, and because of that, I feel like a lot of people are probably just going to say, well, go read One Punch Man or something like that. But honestly, I kind of like this a bit more because my favorite character in One Punch Man is Saitama, because his whole premise is being overpowered in a world where everyone has a superpower and he just exercised really hard. So he's super strong and he's pretty apathetic to things in the world. So he's just kind of there to point out how dumb everything is. And I feel like...
But the difference here is that in One Punch Man...
I know it's not a one-to-one comparison, no pun intended, but just like, I don't know. I feel like that's... I feel like that's why I like the comedy.
See, the problem is, in One Punch Man, you have Janus as mostly the point of view character. We're not actually following Saitama. We're basically like following Janus and the heroes surrounding him, basically having their own thing going on and just having Saitama basically being around. There is kind of like a dual narrative where it's like, yeah, Saitama is fighting something really powerful, but the others have also something really important to do and pull their weight. And I think there is some...
and everyone has a harder time at taking care of their problems than Saitama, because he can just punch them.
But that's kind of a point that gives everybody a purpose in the narrative that they can fulfill, even if it's entirely pointless. But that's kind of interesting on what level this is. And I think that when we look at Mashle, that just isn't established yet to actually make sense. So this might come, potentially. That would make it a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. But
I feel like talking about this makes me think of Saitama, like backwards main character of any Yu-Gi-Oh series. Because, whenever you watch them, it's like only the main character is allowed to win.
Yeah, kind of.
And they're like the center of attention, so only they're allowed to win, and by proxy, everyone else has to be terrible or lose by some contrived means. But in One Punch Man, Saitama is just kind of doing his own thing, and everyone else can win, but ultimately they just aren't as good. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying, but like, honestly, I do like it, and I think one of the reasons is kind of the art style. But like in a lot of scenes, it seems very lazy, but I think that's kind of the point. It's supposed to be this gigantic moment. The art style is actually really, I guess, fluctuating. I don't know if that's the right word, but like in some points, it's like, whoa,
I mean, I think it's
That's really amazing.
from a quality standard. I think it's consistent artwork from a quality, but it knows when to use the art style to empathize the comedy. It's just that for me the jokes don't land, but that's my problem, not the problem of the story in my here. From the art style, I can tell you that it uses a lot of inks, a lot of black. Like there's a lot of black panels in this one. Like with
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of screen tones.
yeah, it's a bit weird. It's like it doesn't can find a good medium. I'm not sure if they want to empathize this to give this world a very dark theme or something like that. But I don't know.
I think it's more just because, like, it's not supposed to be super detailed, and they save the screen tones for when it's actually necessary. But for the rest of the time, it's supposed to be like very blunt, and maybe the artist just thinks their art style works best with black and whites.
I mean, black and
Because it
white
gives
is
a very
okay.
clear
It's
image.
just if you use a lot of black, you often need to use a lot of negative space to make up for this, and that's just not here.
Actually, I'm actually looking at the first chapter right now, and I feel like most of the blacks, like the scenes with a lot of shading to them, are like when people are charging up super attacks and being like ultra serious. But whenever it cuts back to Mash himself, it's often really, there's a lot of whites in the scene. There's a lot of negative space because he just kind of diffuses the tone by being so blunt.
Yeah, but he loses also basically like all definition when in comedy scenes where he's like, yeah, I'm not that buff outside of the normal artwork.
Well, because Bobobo was buff, but I think it's because he was supposed to be a caricature.
Yes.
But I'm looking at a lot of these facial expressions, and I'm just like, that's actually, just looking at some of the facial expressions is really funny, especially Mash, who's just like permanently stuck on like, I don't really care.
Again, I think it's just not working for me, but I don't necessarily see this as a bad thing. It's just
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. But I think it will not go that far. It wants to tell a story there. It wants to say something. I'm not sure if it will get to that point. We'll see how this develops.
I hope it actually does go on for longer because I like it. I feel like
you like it.
It won't be for everyone, but that's just comedy for you.
Yeah.
But really,
Totally
out
fine.
of all of them, this is the one that I want to read more of, just because I do like how he's just so simplistic and blunt. Like when they have them walk through a maze and he just walks through the wall because, technically that's exiting the maze. So he did technically accomplish what he needed to do. I like it.
Now here's something that you need to know. When somebody wants you to get to the other side of a maze, here's the trick you're using. You enter the maze, you turn around, you go out of the maze, go around it, enter the other side of the maze, and go around and go out of it.
Yeah, but it's funnier to just walk through the walls in this. I don't know. He probably just didn't have the option. And then when he's in the second chapter, he's just like lifting weights while everyone is reading books, and they're just ridiculous. And he's doing like a one-legged invisible chair. It's just ridiculous how much of a contrast he is to everyone around him. And I think that's just, I like that. I don't know. Like that's probably just my sense of humor.
Again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you like it, I don't. That's okay.
All right. Oh, I feel like we haven't talked about this one. Are there any other characters that you remembered?
I remember most of the characters. There's Mashle. There's Mashle. There's his adoptive. There's his adoptive dad. There is the government dude who wants to exploit Mash so that he can have money and fame.
And Mash is totally cool with that because he's just like, yeah, whatever.
Oh, so okay.
And then there's the girl, Lemon.
Yeah.
Lemon.
Yeah. She's kind of I don't know. She's like she only has appeared in one chapter as of now, and she's like,
Well,
eh.
two.
She seemingly misunderstands Mash for wanting to marry him, and it's kind of weird. But I just go with it. Other than that, there haven't been many characters in here.
Yeah, I feel like this might be a series that needs a little more setup to get more appeal.
I think it's one of these shows like that if it ever gets an anime adaptation, if it should be, I think it will be basically condensing story arcs and moving characters a bit around. That's, for example, what Naruto did with some of this stuff, where the early manga and the early anime are a bit different to each other, and include some of the later inserted characters, so to have a little bit more texture to them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that will happen. We'll see.
I love how the headmaster is basically Dumbledore.
He is kind of Dumbledore, yeah.
And then Mash says, "Oh yeah, if I did have to fight you, I would just punch you." Because I don't know why. I just think that's funny. Because he's just, again, I just like the fact that he is just this incredibly straight, blunt person. Who's just like, yeah, whatever, I can do that, but I don't want to. I could do that, but why'd you do that when you could just do it yourself? Why'd you need to do that? I love how he questions these things that he can just do probably better just because of his personality. Again, it's just me, and I feel like this probably won't last long. I hope it at least lasts for a decent amount of time, and I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we'll see some more of it. But other than that, I feel like, other than describing those particular moments, I feel like there's not much here. I like the premise, but I also feel like, yeah, it's not super original. I think it's executed decently, but like I can see this not lasting very long, or it could last for a while. I don't know. It all depends on how the next few chapters lay things out. And if things don't go super well, maybe they can shift it towards like a more action-focused series. Because, you know, Mash is just, again, he's basically Saitama, but with hair.
It's one of these premises. It's one of these all-or-nothing premises where it's like, yeah, everybody's into magic with that guy not being. He's like, I'm lifting weights. And I was like, I think I don't find that inherently funny because I have played Dungeons and Dragons so much. And it's like, I'm used to the fact that there's always one guy is into books and the other one is into weightlifting, and the other guy steals things, and the other guy likes God a lot and heals people. So it's like, for me, this is like, eh.
I don't know, maybe it's just, I feel it works better in this context because literally everyone else uses magic and they just use it as part of their daily lives, and then Mash comes in and he just questions everything they do because his life is so different to theirs, and he can't do everything they do, but he can do a bunch of other stuff they can't do. And then he just like, oh, you're going to cast a spell, I'll break your wand. You're going to fight me, I'll just punch you in the face. There's a magic labyrinth, I'll walk through the wall. It's just...
I hope that this gets kids to question why things the way they are a lot more.
Yeah, I think that actually is why I like this. I like seeing series poke fun at the tropes that you usually see in series like this. Like, again, one guy showed up in fire, and he's just like, why did you need to do that? You think you're cooler just because you can do that?
Sometimes there's also the situation where you're like, wait, I'm in fire when I'm doing this? I have this. This is kind of a Power Rangers problem. Like they apparently are aware of the explosions, but they are not intended. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
I used to make a joke where Power Rangers was just people in spandex making dumb poses with fireworks behind them.
Yeah, that's what Power Rangers is inherently, but it's kind of like you sometimes have these aesthetics and like some characters aren't even aware that this is happening, or that's like something that is there, and they're like, I don't know why this happens. Like, is it necessary that there is an explosion behind my back? Like, you know,
Not really.
I mean, actually, they give an explanation for that, but I'm not going to go there. It's too funny.
All right. But yeah, that's Mashle. I guess we'll talk more about the art style and general stuff after we finish the last one. You ready to move on to the last one? All right, the newest one is Guardian of the Witch, and I'm just gonna be honest. This is my least favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
What irks you? What irks you?
It just feels so generic.
I don't know. I think it has a lot of potential.
Is really bland, like Guardian of the Witch. So okay, there's a guardian, so the main character, sword dude, and a witch, so the girl who uses magic. Okay, and that's it. Also, the monsters are called evils.
That's a pretty generic name. Yeah,
that's a terrible name. So okay, let's just get the premise out of the way real quick. So in this, think Attack on Titan, kind of.
It has some Attack on Titan vibes.
Yeah, it does. I will say this though, it's much better drawn than Attack on Titan.
That's not really hard.
Yeah, that's not really very hard. Would you say Mashle has better art than Attack on Titan?
Yes, but that's really just because it knows how to stylize effectively.
Yeah. Am I the only one who feels like Attack on Titan would do better if the author of Attack on Titan, what's his name, like Isayama or something like that? I feel like he would do better if he made a psychological horror without any action.
Yeah, but he can't do psychological things because he's not that skilled in writing that kind of stuff.
All right. So in a world where, evil monsters that are literally just called evils, which look like golems or something. I think they're kind of trying to do like shadows from Rallograd or Blue Dragon or whatever.
It's like they're kind of white creatures with sharp black outlines that are like brute, and they come in large masses.
They're monsters.
They're monsters, basically. I'm pretty sure they will introduce a few variants of that over time, but in general... Yeah. They're not that creative. I give you that, but yeah.
I mean, they're called evils.
Yes, but
I think evils of the world.
Yeah, I think the idea here is that they're more allegorical enemies and not so much because they do not necessarily pose that inherently a threat in the plot. They are there, but I think the greater threat is not necessarily them. They are more like... They're
a reason to set up stuff.
Yes, they're a reason there. They are an obstacle that later needs to be overcome, but they are more like a consistent force of nature that you just have to deal with. And that the actual conflict is more born out of what they cause, but not really intended because they're not thinking enemies. They're not...
they might be for all we know, but we don't because this series is not about the evils themselves.
No.
But... because there are evils in the world, people live in walled-up villages with actual big walls, protected by young girls with magic powers called witches. And they each have a personal guard known as a guardian, who's like the strongest person in the city-state thing. And the main character of this series is called Fafnir. His parents were killed by an evil, and he said that he looks so boring.
Yeah, he looks bored.
It's not that he looks bored. He just looks boring. Like,
yeah, I mean, he has main character. He is a
relatively fit teenage boy with short, spiky black hair and a sword and a kind of permanent scowl on his face. Like.
He has main character syndrome.
But what do I expect from a series where the monsters are just called evils? All right, so this Fafnir guy doesn't like witches because he believes that, J. Jonah Jameson or Lex Luthor or whatever if they have to keep relying on a superhero, then people themselves won't step up to defend themselves. And so he is the personal guardian to Manasfa. That's a very awkward name. She is the witch of the city-state. She eats a lot of food, and she sleeps a lot. That's kind of it.
She's a bit
They argue a
bratty
lot
and
because obviously,
she's a brat mostly, but okay.
yeah. So they don't really get along, and one day he is called into basically to meet their mayor, king, head of government, just whatever. And is told that the actual purpose of Guardians is to kill witches because because witches are not natural, they are artificially made, where you plant a seed of evil, like an actual seed of evil, into a bunch of young girls, and then if it works, they get magic powers. That's it. That's how you make witches.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, the seed of evil just keeps growing inside them, and they get magic powers from it. But if it grows enough, they will turn into evils themselves. So he has to. The point of the Guardians is to actually kill the witches. They have to defend them and then kill them in order to prevent them from becoming an evil. And apparently, the evil that killed Fafnir's parents was a witch, because of course.
Of course.
And he doesn't like that idea because Manasva says something stupid, like she just feels like a normal person when she's arguing with Fafnir. So he's just like, yeah, you know what? Instead of killing her and just doing something that makes sense and has been proven to make sense, I'm not going to kill her, and instead I'm going to defend her, and we're going to go on a mission to figure out how to turn her back to normal. And they said something about killing all the other witches?
No. Killing other witches was not goal.
Let me just see. It says right here in the first chapter, he's going to kill all the witches until she's the last one, and then he'll turn her back to normal.
I mean, that's maybe the part. I think not that he's necessarily interested in killing all the witches. I think they want to find a solution to all that.
Yeah, but like he says he wanted to, they keep reiterating that, yeah, they're probably going to kill some witches.
That's probably the case, but I don't think that this is necessary. I think this is just an edgy thing in this case that they want to do, like that, put it in there, but it's not necessarily there.
Yeah.
It's one of these things that's maybe a bit weird in the translation.
Yeah. So his goal is to travel around with Manasva and her maid, Nata. I'm not sure entirely how to exactly pronounce it. And they're going to go around, and they're going to try and find a way to turn her back into a human. And that's it.
Yeah, that's the premise.
Which is a really dumb idea because...
Why?
Because
I don't think this is necessarily a dumb idea.
I don't think, not necessarily that the premise itself is dumb. It's kind of just like a road trip kind of thing. It's not very original, but it's fine.
I mean, the story itself has a time limit attached to it. That's neat.
We'll get to that in just a little bit, but I just want to say this right now. The purpose of the witches is to protect city-states from evils because super powerful magic is a lot more effective than guys with swords. Except for Fafnir, because he's just that good.
Yeah, but even he would probably not make it that far.
So why exactly is his mission to get rid of the witches that defend the city-states? Is he doing that so that they have an alternative to killing them? Is he going to try and make sure that people can defend themselves, even though that's really hard to do? And the only reason he's able to do it and defeat evils by his own hand instead of by means of having to rely on a witch is because he's the main character. So, how is this supposed to work? Is he going to kill all of them and then train their soldiers to defend the city-states by themselves? How is this going to work? What's the logistics of the situation? Are you just going to introduce something so that when witches are about to turn into evils, you just have a way to stop it and turn them back into people and then repeat the cycle over and over and over again. Because it's not like he can just train literally everyone in the world to be able to defeat evils on their own to defend the city-states. No. Because they're probably going to die.
You're approaching this from a very weird angle. Like, you try to...
I'm trying to think about this logically, and I'm just like, how would logistically...
First off, make very clear. You have to understand, this character has a flaw. He believes he has to solve all the problems of the world because he's alone in it. He has no perspective of everything else. And he doesn't look at it from a different perspective. He had to grow up alone. He had to make all of the decisions alone. He thinks only of himself alone in the context. It's basically his whole shtick is like, there was no witch who protected me, and I had to fight this. So I will prove that I never will need a witch to protect.
Yeah, I understand that much.
And now here's the different point. I think this is one of the situations where the author knew more about his own setup than the characters, but forgot to not let them influence that. So that we come to that position there, Fafnir realizes something very important. The witches are not just powerful magic users. They explicitly explain that they need a large amount of people to even start up a process. And even then, only a very handful is surviving the process. So you have to understand that creating a witch is an incredibly taxing thing for the person. There's a lot of expectations put on them, and it costs a lot of women their lives. So from that perspective, it is a very high cost just for getting one witch, a cost that has a lot of morality attached to it. Are you willing to sacrifice about 5,000 people for just one super weapon that you can only use for a very limited amount of time that will then cause incredible pain, and they will then have to die under incredible pain and suffering, being secluded, being left out? It's very clear that if you look from that perspective, that the witches are having a very painful existence to have, and that then this is revealed, we can see that Fafnir's brain works it out and is like, oh my god, what am I doing? But on the other hand, it leads better to his own goals, because if he can actually make a point of helping the people out without the witches, the women don't have to be sacrificed. They can be free.
I understand that. I guess I'm just looking at it in the way of like, the only reason he's so good is because he kept training for like pretty much all his life. So yeah, he's able to beat the witches. But I'm just,
the other side of the coin is also
people being able to get on his level in time to the point where they can adequately replace witches as the main defense against evils.
See, the problem is, here's another problem that this happens. I mean, we don't necessarily know how long the system has been in place. And you have to understand, if you're relying on certain things, complacency will happen. So if you rely only on the witches, the guards the guards who guard the city will usually just not do much. They will just be sitting there and waiting and not be very good. So the comparison could be that Fafnir isn't better than anybody else because he's special. Maybe he's just that good because he, instead of the others, actually trains a bit harder, has a specific routine, specific techniques that could be trained to others. In general, though, it could also be that the whole story is for something else. We don't know where the evils come from, and maybe this actually leads into a situation, because we already know it takes like 5,000 people to make one witch. What happens to all of these people? Do they become evils? Do they produce their own problem? Maybe to enforce...
Actually, it might be kind of interesting if, like, evils just kind of happened one day, and in order to get back at them, someone figured out how to make the witches, and then they just kept repeating the process, and that's how they kept making more evils. So they just stopped making witches.
This could be one of the situations. It could also be the fact that they explicitly use that process to create more evils to keep their power, like the ruling class.
That would also be pretty interesting.
So from that perspective, I see a lot of potential there this can go. And that's really what intrigues me about this. I also find the characters to be not that annoying. I think they are actually kind of fine. They come to understand each other and have this kind of empathy for each other, even though they bicker around. I think this is not a necessarily bad thing.
Yeah, it's not bad. I don't think the series is bad. I know I've been complaining a lot, but that's mostly just because I was trying to work out logistically how this would work. And
Maybe don't.
I get that he's not like super powered. He just worked hard enough to be able to actually defend himself because, you know, he just has like a normal looking sword. He just has like he just trained a specific way, and he's like I kind of understand like if they do have decent defenses, they probably could reasonably train enough people in a city state to be able to defend themselves and not have to rely on the witches. I do understand that.
Yeah.
And then in that way, they could stop the process of having to make witches, which is a pretty terrible thing to do. And I feel like in that sense, there could be a lot of places where they could go. But like in my mind, I didn't see logistically how it would happen because I feel like a lot of people would just rely on the witches and just like, dude, stop it.
I think you think about it in a too immediate context. A lot of change takes time and effort to do so. And it's very clear that they seemingly also have no guards inside of the city effectively. So they're only focused on outside. So there's definitely a problem with its organization. And the fact also that
they screwed things up to rely on one specific person that they have to sacrifice a lot of people to get. So, you know, in that way, I could see this being an interesting kind of way for them to go against the system and in a way stop people from dying needlessly in a way that could let them reasonably defend themselves from monsters and not have to rely on the witches. And in that sense, yeah, okay, that works. And if it happens to tie into like government people manipulating things to keep the system going, that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
it's not like I thought about it in an immediate way. Like, okay, if you do that, then how is that going to happen? And I can kind of understand the idea behind it, and I get that. It's just like I don't know. There's just something about this that I feel like there were lots of series with interesting potential, like Takamagahara, Agaha no Takujo no Agaha, Hi-Fi Cluster. There are loads of series that I'm just gonna go through a lot of the series that were canceled, but had neat potential.
Don't do that. Wait. Don't do that. Why? Why are you doing that?
I'm not gonna go through all of them, just like some that
I would like to know why you want to do that. Why do you want to go through all of that?
Because when I read manga, I keep thinking, okay, this is a really neat, interesting premise that could go a lot of places, but usually when that happens, they just don't get the chance to do anything because they get canceled super early, like the last Sayuki. That was a neat series.
Yeah, but you don't need to list them. That's a consistent issue with Shonen Jump and many manga magazines out there.
Okay, never mind that. What was it talking about? Oh yeah, it's just I can see this maybe being an interesting thing that they could expand upon. I'm not sure if the writer actually plans on doing anything about it. I feel like since the like higher ups see no remorse in killing witches, they're either incredibly discriminatory towards them or they know that repeating the system is how they're going to stay in power. And in which case, you know, they become fugitives and run away. So in that case, I could see this being an interesting thing they could do. I don't think that's a bad idea. It's just there's something about this that isn't clicking with me. I don't know.
Maybe it needs a little bit more time. Maybe we need to see where this goes a bit.
Also, I don't like his sword.
It
looks like it has a big
a bolt.
Yeah, it looks like a bolt with a sword attached to it, and it's attached by a really flimsy piece of metal. Like, dude, how is that staying attached? You're like blocking things and slashing and stuff like that. It does not look like an efficient sword. I just don't really like it. I do kind of like his fighting style though, because he uses his scabbard in tandem with his sword.
Yeah,
I like that.
They made that actually in the artwork. They make very clear that this is kind of his fighting style already. Like they put this on the cover very clearly, so they want to build something with that. That
I
could
do
be
like
cool.
that idea. I've always thought, like, you have two different weapons, technically. You got something you can smack people over the head with, you can use it to guard. Why are you just using the sword? Like, use the scabbard, too. In that sense, I like it. So, like, Fafnir's character, he's fine, I
Yeah.
guess. He's just kind of okay. Manasva's just... she's okay, I guess. I can
Again,
kind of
they
understand
need
where
kind of-
she's coming from. I just
They need a
don't...
bit room to grow. That's kind of the point. That's the reason why a little bit more long-term storytelling is important. I understand the fear you have, considering that this is Shonen Jump and they like to axe shows a lot when they do that, because they don't want to invest too long time in that. So I can see that, but
I feel like a good idea would maybe to let them stay a little longer. Like, maybe don't have so many serialization meetings. Give time to new
I would
series.
just
Maybe make it so they don't appear on the popularity list right away. Give them a couple chapters.
I actually
for
have a
audience.
solution for the problem, but I'm not sure if Shonen Jump would ever go for something like that. I would specifically make it so that you hire all of the artists for exactly a year. And
Okay,
say,
that's a little bit much.
wait. Let me make this. You hire them for exactly a year, tell them how many chapters they have, they plot out their series, and then you publish them and see what happens. So that they actually
That's
can take
50
advantage.
chapters, though.
I know, but here's the point. You can still do the popularity poll while you're doing that, and if they sink, you can adjust the series a bit better to the needs, so you have a longer time to make this in. And hey, if they don't succeed, you still have a full story that worked out. You can just say, okay, I'm working for a year on the story. If it doesn't work out, I cannot get a sequel, but hey, I have this. And this is long enough. I think they just should hire these people for a specific time frame to give them the opportunity of actually telling a story, instead of just, you go as long as you can and as long as we want you, and
I
not
feel like
as
this
long
is a
as the
better
story is
topic
needed.
for another episode.
I know.
So, okay, back to Guardian and the Witch.
Yes.
So what do you think of the characters?
I think there's a lot of room to grow. There's a bit simplistic, but hey, 3 chapters isn't much to work with anyway when we want to do some characters. They have some flaws. They have some likable elements to them. They are also a bit, kooky. That's totally fine.
They're not bad. I just feel like they're kind of default.
Yeah, but again, 3 chapters isn't so much you can do unless you want to go incredibly crazy with your characterization. And if you want to have some halfway decent people, you need to start a bit low. And I think they do this here. I think it's from a character perspective, just a bit simple. There will be more things added to that, I'm pretty sure, and they will probably be ending up pretty solid characters in the long run. But, we have to start somewhere.
Or they could just be completely generic and not that interesting at all.
Yeah,
it
but
really depends on the writer.
It's got to also be that they not really want to focus on that are not really focus on a character focus and more on a plot focus, and want to get the story and the elements out there, or want to do
more Pokemon than Digimon.
Yeah, kind of. And that's not necessarily Pokemon in that sense. It's more like the events happen to the characters and not the characters are motivated. But we'll see how this goes. I think this is one of these mangas where I think it needs a little bit more chapters before we can make a definitive statement of, will this go long or not? This could be both. This is a 50-50 case, I would say.
Yeah, but the question then is, can you really judge a manga series? Like, I know you can't fully judge a manga series just on its first 3 chapters, but I feel like this just gave me the least... I feel like this just gave me the weakest impression when I read it. I was like, I read it. It's like, that's fine. And then I'm just
compared to the other things from Shonen Jump that you read at the moment.
No, just like in general.
No. Just do that. Compare that mentally to the other shows that you read in Shonen Jump, and say, like, is it still the worst, or is it still medium, or where is it?
I never said it was bad. I just feel like this is just
Maybe it's just not for
kind
you.
of weak. Like I feel this is a series that needs a little more time to bake in the oven or something.
Yeah,
Like, maybe in a couple more chapters, maybe it'll grow on me. Maybe I'm like, yeah, okay, the characters are a little more appealing. They've gotten a little more depth, gotten a little more details added, and they're just like, okay, I like this. I think it's fine. I just feel like right now it's like barely on the point of okay, but like I
just
don't
give it
know.
some
And I
time.
like the system that they have with, I mean, I don't like the system that they're doing to make witches, but I like the idea of the potential they could do with, the story later on.
Yeah.
With, going against the government and all that. But just when I actually look back at other Shonen Jump series, I just feel like this one did not leave much of an impression on me. I don't know. What did you think?
I think it's pretty good. I think it will go places. I'm optimistic. I like shows with potential. That's what I'm doing, and I just
If you want
keep
to
it
see
at it.
potential, look at Takamagahara.
Yeah, but I can't decide on this. The potential of a story doesn't necessarily correlate to how successful it will be in the system of Shonen Jump, and I
Yeah,
have
I
no
know.
control over that. So I take as long as I can get something out of that, and if it doesn't work, well, the offer is probably still out there and will do something. Like a lot of the offers don't get disencouraged, and maybe they get picked up by another magazine or publish something themselves, and I can keep an eye on them.
The author of Takamagahara didn't make another series.
I mean, that's also the problem of the complete and utter, how shall I say, depression that you can have after that. Like getting rejected from Shonen Jump and the hard workload you have to do.
Yeah.
It's not easy to have a comeback from that.
One artist I can think of that actually did make a comeback was Kaito. He made a series called Cross Manage, which was like a lacrosse manga. Like, it actually wasn't that bad. I actually thought that the art was really, really great. The characters had lots of designs and variation. It was like a female lacrosse manga, so it also had fan service. It was kind of a harem, but I actually thought it was really interesting. Like I don't play lacrosse. I have no idea I have no idea how to play it, but I kind of know now because I read Cross Manage. I thought it was okay. It only got 25 chapters, and it kind of ended on oh, that's a little disappointing because it got axed. But now he made like a 1-volume series about baseball, which I didn't get to finish because they didn't translate the other chapters. And now he's making one for another magazine called Blue Flag, and that's actually getting published in English. Can't wait to read that because I genuinely like his art style. But yeah, this one, I really do hope that it does continue because I feel like, yeah, it could do something. It might do something. There is the potential for something to be done here. But I don't know. It might just be me.
Let's be honest. You made the comparison to Attack on Titan, and I think I can make this comparison too. But I think that Attack on Titan succeeded despite it being not very well written, despite having complete and utter nonsense going on in it. And you have this. So in a world where Attack on Titan could survive, I think a manga like this can survive easily.
Well, yeah, it's fine because it's kind of just feels a bit generic to me.
We'll see.
Maybe that's why it's not.
Out generic.
Also, I just want to say this. Yep. I just want to say this right now, just while I have one of the pages open and I'm seeing Manasva. I hate how her hair is drawn.
Okay.
It is the worst ringlet hairstyle I have ever seen drawn in any series whatsoever. It's like they molded like I don't know, cuts of her hair around a plastic cup and then cut that into thirds and then like not rang, but like somehow put them on 2 other parts of her hair. It looks horrible. It doesn't look like any of her hair is actually going into the rings and forming them. It just looks like she has kind of like twin tails and they just happen to have those rings on them. It looks horrible. This is
Hey,
the kind of thing I focus on because
that's okay. You're an artist. That is understandable.
and also I will say this though, the art in general isn't bad.
No,
It's
I think
actually pretty good. It reminds me of something.
something.
I don't know what. It's not because it looks generic. It does kind of look generic, but it's like
Yeah, a bit.
almost a halfway point between like My Hero and World Trigger. Maybe I feel like that's
Potentially.
yeah. I feel like that's it.
Meh.
So the art in general is pretty good. There's something with it that didn't click with me. Like when I actually do look at the other Shonen Jump series I have read, like from more recent years, I feel like this is one of the weaker ones that are just like, yeah, it could be good, could be worse. Like Kimetsu no Yaiba, strong impression. Chainsaw Man, first impression. Black Clover. Okay, that's a bad example. Jujutsu Kaisen, that's a good one. Promise Neverland, yeah, sure. Haikyuu, that first chapter is really good. Dr. Stone, that's pretty great too. There's just like I don't know. Maybe this is just my least favorite because I feel like it has a good amount of potential for things that I've seen lots of times before, but could be executed in an interesting way. And I'm just waiting for that to happen. But I feel like they just have.
The rambling is strong with this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I talk about manga and anime a lot more than I talk about video games. But like,
that's okay.
I don't know.
Just give it some time. It will happen or it will not happen.
Yeah.
Hey, if Black Clover could survive, this has a chance of survival.
Yeah, but Black Clover was like apparently cynically designed to be really popular very quickly, so he could just do whatever he wanted.
I mean, that's an approach. That's a strategy. Why not?
Yeah, it is an approach, but I feel like that's why. I kind of feel like this just didn't have a lot of impact on me. But hey, that's just me. I hope it actually does kind of continue for a while and be like, okay, this is actually pretty good. I've seen this stuff before, but like, yeah, okay.
What didn't we see?
I see this potentially being a decent, just kind of a decent-ish kind of series. Not something amazing, not something that's, gonna like stand out from the crowd in any major way, but it might end up being okay in the long run.
This would be funny. We're sitting here a year down the line, and it's like, yeah, kind of. It's like, I always wonder what happens in a year, and we're like, this is completely wrong. Like maybe I have been completely turned around on Mashle, or you have been completely turned around on this series. We don't know.
It would be kind of funny.
It would
if, like a year down the line, we revisited this at like exactly 1 year later when like 50 chapters have come out for each, and it's just like, okay, yeah, it'd be funny if that actually did happen.
That's an interesting thing. We keep that in mind. Next year, retrospective on The Free.
I mean, we're probably gonna do this again just because it's an easy topic, and I like talking about these new manga series.
Keeping up with mangas was pretty easy anyway, so.
Yeah, it's like 19 pages a week for Jump at least.
Well, I think I can deal with that.
All right. Also, I just kind of want to talk about like the third chapter. There was something stupid that happened in the second one, but I'm not going to dwell on it. Stupid bell thing, whatever.
I actually found that to be pretty cool. Like he shoots down the bell while attaching.
That? How did he throw his scabbard so hard it knocked the bell off the whatever was keeping it attached? How does that work? Was it just attached with something really flimsy? What's his scabbard made of? So here's where
you apply logic, but Mashle is okay. I see.
Because that's deliberately not trying to be logical. Or rather, it's using logic to the benefit of its comedy. But when you do something like this, it's not fairy tale level where like Urza gets all her bones broken and then makes her dragon mom give up.
We don't want to talk about the meteor scene. We don't want to talk about that.
Whatever.
So what's in the
like-
third? What do you mean in the third
Okay,
one?
so in the third chapter, they introduce a new pair. They introduce a new witch and a new guardian person. Like, you remember them?
Yeah, I remember them. I mean,
Okay.
I know how they look. I don't remember their names. I'm bad with names.
So it's Ruli and Gen.
Yeah.
I don't like them.
I don't like them either, but they're not supposed to be likable. They're supposed to
They
be.
might
like
they
this.
might be. It might have been the intention to make them likable. Like, maybe they'll be reoccurring characters. Maybe they'll join up with the good guys. But the weird thing is, they know that he has to kill the witch.
Yes.
So why the heck are they just going along with it? I can kind of get it. I can kind of get the idea. Like, the witches, they're probably in a lot of pain because Madoka rules, I guess. And so they're fine getting killed, but then they set up this stupid rule where, like, only the guardian can kill the witch because of a bond of trust.
Yeah,
And it's just like, how does that work? And also the shock and stress without the bond of trust. How does that work? People you don't know trying to kill you? Okay, maybe that can be shocking, but stress? I thought you guys wanted to die because you hated being alive. Why the heck would you care?
Maybe you were doing that from a wrong angle. I think this is something.
I don't know. I thought it was dumb.
I think the information that is missing here is just that our main characters have been only at this for a very short amount of time, and while she knows, he doesn't know because they didn't tell her, and she apparently is like really fastly developing the seed. So I think this is more a thing of necessity, or more that they wanted to set this up for the audience, like this is a shock reveal, you know? That's also a possibility that this is just, the classic one, not thinking things fully through. It's Shonen Jump, come on, that's basic for this thing. So
I don't know, I read that and I thought, how the heck does that work? How does that work? Is that like...
It's a
I
demon...
don't even know how to think about that. That just...
It's a demon seed. It can attach itself to emotions.
What does the bond of trust have to do with anything? What if the guardian and the witch just really legitimately hate each other? What then?
Well, you get a new guardian.
What if they're like the only one?
They
and
had
like everyone else
kind
of sucks in comparison.
It's not important. They are not supposed to be the strongest. They're only supposed to be capable of doing that.
But that's what they set up. The guardian's supposed to be like the strongest one.
I didn't read anything about that.
Whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. Whatever.
Yeah, I think you're getting that wrong. It's more like
also,
a position
for some reason,
you
when they're talking to like the main guy, the guy makes a sword appear. Like I don't know why that. When I saw that, I was like, "Wait, is that you making the sword, or is it the witch?"
Yeah,
because
I was kind of confused. I was really confused.
How the heck did you do it? I thought only the witches could use magic. If you can do it, why the heck are you relying on a witch? Like that.
Yeah, that was weird. I also at first thought he was like, "Oh yeah, you want to defeat this? Here is a mystical sword that I want to give you." That was the first reaction I had to that shot. I was like, yeah, here, have this mystical artifact. It will make your job way easier. But nope, it's just a presentation of, yeah, I can do metal.
It does make me wonder, though. Is that metal sword just metal, or is it like magic metal? Is it just a big spiky stick?
We will find out, I assume.
Yeah, something. But I did not like this guy. Also, I don't know. I do like how they... I will give them this. I do like this third chapter for at least setting up their goal. Like, they need to get somewhere. So they're like, okay, we got to go to these places.
They have apparently to go through half of Scotland for some reason.
Yeah, why is the map based on England?
I don't know, but I don't mind it, mate.
Generic, fantasy world, am I right?
I don't know. Maybe many readers of Shonen Jump are not good at geography, so nobody will ever notice. Oh, look, that's a funny fantasy map. Yeah, I see that in the school, in the school
This
library.
is ironically going to be one of our longer episodes, just because I really ramble when I talk about manga, because I like it a lot more and have a lot more to say.
I don't know. Maybe people like that. You said the last time we were very rambly with the anime thing was actually pretty successful. So
yeah, but that's because I specifically said we should talk about it because it's coming up and people might click on it. I don't know.
Hey, that might also come up. Like, hey, have you heard about that new manga series? Somebody talking about that new manga series? Maybe we should
Yeah,
watch.
that's why I like. That's why I want to talk about these whenever they come out. Like whenever a new bunch comes out, I just want to talk about them because it's just like I have no one to talk about manga with. So this is gonna be
Well,
neat.
now you have one.
But anyway, I do like how in the third chapter they do set up their goal. They have to go to several villages before they reach the place where the retired witch is supposed to be, which for all we know could mean she's dead.
Yeah, that could also be just a euphemism for being dead.
So this whole thing is just like, oh, but they actually did die. They just misinterpreted the word. So it's just
Hey.
like if that ends up being the case, I think it'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, I think so too.
Going all that way for no reason. And they do set up a time limit for 6 months. So I do like that. Like, okay, you have 6 months to figure out how to make her turn back to normal or at least slow the progression of the seed of evil. And if you don't do that, she'll turn into a monster and you'll probably have to kill her. The next page, the one I'm looking at right now, is a joke that really kind of was I just did not get. He says to put on their costumes, and then she imagines like a bunny girl outfit and a nurse, but like it's a modern nurse, but this is supposed to be like basic medieval-ish fantasy kind of thing. So do they actually have those?
I mean, technically speaking, the concept. No, wait, no, the concept of a maid, like, kind of just. No, I don't know how this happened.
Have a bunny girl and a nurse.
I mean, I don't really get the bunny girl either. I don't know. Maybe they set this up later, or it's just a reference that we are supposed to get, but they don't.
Maybe they have them because they're in Dragon Quest.
I mean,
not calling Dragon Quest generic fan. Okay, it kind of is. I guess that's part of its appeal. It's more.
That's a wonderful thing about writing fiction. You can create anything. Like if you want to say, like, yeah, we use bunny costumes as ceremonial outfits. I'm like,
that would be funny. That'd be legitimately funny. But then they actually put on their costumes in the next page, and it's just like Fafnir and Manasva covering their hair with a piece of cloth, and I'm just like, that's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, I was also kind of confused about this. Like, this is your disguise, and I'm like, I'm not sure that's a good disguise considering we saw your wanted posters.
Actually, come to think of it, how would they spread the word so fast? Did they have like magic communication? Do they have to send out carrier pigeons?
Could be. Both options are.
I don't know how word spread.
See the interesting thing here is that they maybe rely on the fact that they have a lacking communication. Like maybe they don't get known to this, or they have a specific setup for communication. I mean, they have to communicate somehow.
Well, yeah, but actually,
we're not here to give a world building lesson, though.
No, but it's just like it's confusing because this is supposed to be like the first 3 chapters are like all happening in the same day, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, so in the same day, we're gonna assume this all takes. Excuse me. We're gonna assume this all takes place in like maybe 6 hours, give or take.
I would say it's more like 2 days, but you know.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think they ever say that nightfall happens. So, just for the sake of convenience, we're gonna say that this is maybe 1 day.
You're really overthinking this.
Maybe 2.
You're really overthinking this.
No, it's just because, like, when they introduced the pair that's supposed to hunt down the main characters, the rector, I think that's what his name is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what his position title is. The rector guy says that he sent requests to the city-state of Steel. Oh, gee. Oh, my gosh.
What?
Their city-state is called Burn, and they have a fire witch. And so the one from the city-state of Steel has one that makes magic iron.
Oh.
That's so... I don't know if that's dumb or clever. I'm just going to pencil it as dumb for now.
I would like to put this as not very subtle, but maybe interesting to explore.
So what if they have one that's poison? Do they name their city-state Venom? I don't know.
Maybe, or maybe they have to rely on a specific kind of evil seed. Maybe evil seed that they harvest is specifically related to fire. What would mean that if we go to the other city states, they might have evils based on other designs.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
But,
Like,
yeah,
maybe
that's-
each one has a different thing, like Pokemon
Yeah.
gyms or something like that.
Why not? I think this is a good idea.
And so
It's
far,
really
we have a
cool,
fire type and a steel type.
Oh, don't do that, please.
I couldn't help it. But anyway, the thing I actually wanted to question before I just realized what their naming convention was is that the rector guy said he sent a request for them to come over. But
Yeah.
first of all, why would they just send over the witch and the guardian of their city-state when they're supposed to be defending them from potential hordes of the monsters? I don't know why they would just suddenly do that, even in an emergency like this. But also, if he sent a request and they came over, if we assume this is all happening in 1-2 days, that must mean they have some form of communication because they had to travel. So maybe they have one. And if that's the case, then their disguises are awful because they're just wrapping pieces of cloth around their head. Like, couldn't they cut their hair, use face paint, wear some masks, like literally anything other than just Clark Kenting and hoping to get through it?
I don't know. I don't think that hard about these things because that usually leads to pretty bad things.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
I don't want to make this a CinemaSins episode, so
I don't either. It's just
I know
don't
what you're
get this.
thinking. I think this is something we'll see. We'll see. The world building might not be fully realized. Maybe they have something. Maybe they have a very fast transportation system. I don't know. This
maybe
is
it'll be
things that we
canceled
later
before they actually manage to set anything up that makes this an actually decent series.
we'll see. We have
For now,
to-
we've just got 4 chapters, and I'm gonna say,
Should say,
it's okay. It might be better in after a little bit. It's given some time to develop the characters and something more interesting other than Fafnir being a dumb idiot who just is good at fighting, and Manasva is kind of a gluttonous brat. Like, if they do something beyond that, it might be interesting. Again, we got loads of ideas for what could happen. Will they happen? We don't know. It all depends on how long this goes for.
Remind me to never make an episode about Fairy Tale with you.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Fairy Tale. But, like, okay, so this was fine. And now you said we're going to talk about the art styles just real quick.
I mean, you can talk about the art style. I don't know anymore. I thought like they had all interesting art styles. I said my thing about Mashle.
Yeah, the thing is, I think Mashle has like the lowest quality art, but I think it's like on purpose most of the time.
Yeah, I
There are
think
some
so,
panels
too.
that have like these big 2-page spreads that are just ridiculously detailed. For the most of the time, it's just pretty bland. Not gonna lie, but if it's for the sake of comedy, I guess it works.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it uses its medium to a good extent, I think, on that part. And it has some pretty gruesome imagery, at least in the last few things, that is interesting. So,
Yeah, that was freaky.
yeah. I'm used to that, but, you know.
And then Undead, Unluck, we already covered. It's almost gritty in a way, but it's also very energetic and lively, so it fits very well with the tone the series is going for. So overall, pretty good.
It's
Pretty good
bright.
art style.
It doesn't dwell too much on the direct violence, even though it has a lot of, decapitation.
Decapitation!
I think the most funniest thing about this was basically when Andy basically stepped in front of a train and was just completely smushed. And we were like, and they never found anything. It was like, okay, that's funny.
Right? Is that from the first 3 chapters?
Yes, that wasn't the first. Of course, he was. You don't remember this? When Andy touches Fuku for the first time, he like crashes down on the bridge directly in front of the train.
Right. And then it just splat.
This was pretty funny, I think. I didn't see that coming.
All right, so we should probably give our quick overall thought. Ironically, I think Guardian of the Witch we talked about for the longest amount of time.
Yes.
Even though Mashle was my personal favorite, I think we talked about it for the least. So that was interesting.
Yes.
So what are your overall thoughts on these 3 series?
What's
What's your favorite?
I think I like Guardian of the Witch the most because it has potential. I think Undead Unluck Undead is a close second. Mashle, not so my thing. So yeah, that's my thought. I think that's how it goes.
That's interesting. It's like the complete opposite for me. But then again, now that I've had some time to talk and think, like, yeah, maybe.
It's sometimes good to get a new perspective on
Yeah,
things.
because I never have anyone to talk to with manga, so
Yep.
yeah. But now that we actually have talked, I'm just like, I'm feeling a bit better on Guardian of the Witch than I did when I just read it, and I was like, I still don't think it left a very big impression on me. Again, that's just me. I just kind of was like, okay, it might work out later on. Like, my personal favorite, again, I just kind of like Mashle more because
That's okay.
I don't know. There's something about it that I want to keep reading more of that than the other 2. But Undead Unluck I thought was pretty good. I that's really all I have to say. I thought it was a decent idea with some nice execution, and that's my second favorite of the group. And Guardian of the Witch, again, it's my least favorite, but like, I'm feeling a little bit better towards it. Maybe it'll be better. Maybe it'll improve as time goes on. Maybe it'll expand on some ideas and develop characters in the world and all that. So, like, maybe it'll do something, but it might not. It all depends on how long they can go for. And if in a year we actually do end up, making some kind of retrospective where we read the first, like, 50 chapters, if they even get that far, it'd be really funny if Mashle ends up being, like, your favorite, and then I end up liking Guardian of the Witch more. I don't know.
Yeah,
that would be
funny. That would be funny, but we'll see.
And then, like, none of them get, or neither of them could get more than 10 chapters, and Undead Unluck is the only one that gets it.
Could be.
It could happen.
But on the flip side, it could also happen that One Piece ends this year. Nah.
That's not ending for a couple more years.
Yeah, I think it's at least going for at least.
I do know at least that Kimetsu no Yaiba is ending soon, so
yeah,
they'll have room for that.
Good.
Which means they probably won't have to cancel one of these 3. I really hope they cancel A Gravity Boys because it is just really not interesting. So, like, in a couple weeks. Wait, I just realized Undead Unluck has chapter 6.
Yeah.
And then Zipman has 11.
Yeah.
So I guess they do these, like, a month apart. Jeez. So who knows? Maybe we'll go over the next. Who knows? Yeah, I know Kimetsu no Yaiba is ending soon, so they probably can spare one of the newer series. I have a haunting feeling that Mashle is either going to do really well or not very good at all. Guardian of the Witch might do a little bit better, and Undead Unluck, I'm really unsure about that, so,
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Hopefully they continue for a while, because they've got some neat ideas. Am I the only one who thinks it's weird how The Promised Neverland's been going for over 3 years, and it's about, like, 12-year-olds fighting demons?
I mean,
actually, I'm going to be honest, I haven't really read a lot of The Promised Neverland.
Don't ask me, I have also no idea.
Alright, maybe I'll read it sometime. But yeah, that's the new 3 series. Got any final words for us?
Always ask for consent first.
Okay, that's a pretty good lesson. I don't know if it fits, but
I think it does.
Hopefully Andy's listening. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.